Hi, good evening. How are you doing today? It's been now almost 3 days since I spoke to you last, which was on Friday last week at 7:45 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And I believe you had a nice weekend. Yeah, it's quite an ironical situation. Whatever be the lockdown, I still hope you had a nice weekend. Uh, and welcome to my live session on mindset. I've been speaking about mindset quite some time now, quite regularly every day since about a month. And let me start by talking about what mindset, in my understanding, is. Mindset is all about the way we are perceiving reality, the way we are thinking by connecting the dots, the way we are deciding either by the gut or intuition or by assessing the benefits and effort involved, and finally, the way we are acting with conviction and consistency. That's what mindset is all about. And mindset basically is something that we evolve over time in our life based on the emotional experiences that we go through, which are stored as memories. And through these memories, our subconscious constantly does predictions in real time basis. And these predictions are the source of the way we are perceiving, thinking, deciding, and acting or responding. That's what mindset is all about. And let me explain as to why I speak about mindset. Before that, let me briefly get back to the exercise that I've been talking to you. I don't know whether you've been doing that or could do it, but still I keep repeating to talk to your neighbors, friends, relatives, or colleagues on their perceptions of people to people interactions during the lockdown and the pandemic that we are going through now, and what you assume their perceptions would be. Try to establish a dialogue on both the commonalities and the differences that you saw to establish a collective mindset. This is, in my opinion, the baby step to understanding what mindset is all about. It took me quite a long time, quite a few years to understand what mindset is all about. And I feel that just by talking about these four topics, that mindset is something which drives our thinking, uh, our perception, thinking, decision making, and acting or responding, will help us uh, become much, much more effective in our lives. And I'll tell you why. Most of the time, whatever we are doing and what I'm doing today, my speaking is all coming live. There is no preparation or no notes or bullet points that I've got to speak about. And that's coming live because my mind is constantly doing the predictions and telling me what to speak. And that is flowing through the subconscious. And maybe some training experts call this as unconscious competence, which is the ultimate level of any training. And that's what happens when you are doing things subconsciously, which is what also is called by others as working in the zone, where you really don't know that the time is passing by and you just spend a couple of hours doing some job which you are doing through the subconscious. And it is always brilliant when you do that, because subconscious doesn't really allow you to make mistakes, which is very, very rare, extremely rare. And again, I talk to all of you about the simple activity of walking around. Despite COVID lockdown and difficulties in our society nowadays, I'm sure you must be walking around either in your house, apartment, or on the road, footpath, wherever it is. Imagine the number of occasions you had where you could trip and fall down today. And how many times did you trip and fall down? And whether be it a gyroscope, which is really giving you the stability, or your automated processing of the brain, or any computer, the possibilities that you had were enormous, but you didn't fall down at all. That's because walking in a situation where there are obstacles is something that your brain has learned as unconscious or subconscious competence, and therefore there is no generally there is very, 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 very low percentage or probability of making a mistake. And that's the power of mindset. That's the way we are all living. That's the way we continue to live. And why is mindset so important is something which I need to talk about. And before that, let me just conclude on mindset, to say that, look, mindset is something which really defines how we live, whether we are happy, whether we are sad, how is our contribution to the society, how is our contribution to the family, and what do we do in our life. Do we really leave behind a legacy? All these topics are answered just by mindset. Why mindset? See, I am an engineer. I did my graduation in BMS College in 1986, and after that, worked in Bosch Group. I'm sure all of you would have heard of Bosch. Bosch is a global world-class company with manufacturing and locations across almost all the countries in the world. Bosch is mainly into automotive components, and I'm sure nowadays they're diversifying to a great extent after I left. Now they are into medical electronics and medical devices too, is what I understand. And Bosch has been a fantastic company, a German based company with outstanding systems, outstanding processes, great values, and a great company to work with, one of the best workplaces. In fact, in Germany, whenever there is a study done as to best places to work with, the top either Bosch or Porsche or BMW. These are the three companies which come up in the top three. Definitely, it's confirmed because of my experience in Bosch, having worked in Germany for a long time, having worked in Brazil for a long time, having worked in India in multiple locations for a long time. So I can talk about this with the conviction that Bosch is really, truly a great company, a world-class company, which is value-driven and at the same time systems-driven. Now, both systems-driven company, tremendous amount of processes. In fact, we used to joke that look, if somebody would follow all the processes in Bosch, then we would have zero defect everywhere. There would not be any problem at all because there's so many processes, so many procedures, so much amount of information and knowledge which is available within the company. With such a background, engineer doing that and mainly into manufacturing production, how the hell am I talking about mindset? Must be something which is quite intriguing to you, and sometimes it is intriguing to me also. I have really deviated from talking about the numbers, talking about the capabilities, talking about drawings, talking about processes, to talking about mindset. Mindset is something which is totally what should I say, vague, abstract, very, very subjective. Why do I do this? I keep talking about why mindset with an example from the weekly sharpening area that is planned for the week as per my quarterly business plan template, which you can download, by the way. You need to go to my blog and then look at the blog on improving effectiveness. And then there is a link. You can download that. But of course, all this you can do by visiting doHow.in. That is a website where all this material is available. But that apart. So let me talk about I'll anyway explain this here, so there's no need to check around here and there. You can just listen to me and you can get the information on that. This template which I prepared is to say that during the pandemic, because of so much amount of uncertainty, it may make sense for many companies to transition from a annual business plan to a quarterly business plan, because you need to be much more agile than what you normally are. Therefore, going into a quarterly business plan would give you that agility, and that's the reason why I made this quarterly business plan. And you can please check it out. Otherwise, write to me, dinakar@samuthána.com. I'll be more than happy to share that with you. Yeah, if you are in any of the web workshops which we conduct, there again, you will come to know of all this information. So please do check it out also. That is dohow.in/services. And then there you can see various web workshops we have got. Right now, I'm offering it free of cost because of the pandemic, with the belief and hope and desire to help people to evolve their mindset. And why do I talk about doHow in this mindset live webinar, which is live streaming, which I am doing? Though doHow is not the main agenda, mindset is my main agenda, because doHow is the methodology to change mindset. That's what I invented. So I welcome you to check it out. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about doHow now, because that's not the main objective. So let us say today in the three quarterly business plan which I have done, the sharpening theme is sales. So let us take some example of sales and try to see why mindset is so critical. Why do I say mindset is so critical? Is again referring to a quote from from Edison, who invented light bulbs and gave us light in our lives. He said genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Normally, to find a solution, it is very easy. It's not difficult at all. Very, very easy. Each one of us can come up with solution based on our background, our experience, our cognitive abilities, analytical abilities. It may take a little longer time or a lesser time, but we always can come up with a solution. It's not that easy. They're not that difficult. The problem is to implement a solution. That is much, much more difficult. Let us take the example of sales. I'll talk about one topic, which is to speak to the customer on the value proposition. When you sit down and then try to brainstorm and find out what is it that you're going to deliver to the customer, it's quite easy. You can simply jot it down and find out what is it that you're going to give to the customer. Maybe you can also talk to one or two customers and explain to them what your value proposition is. And once that is done, the next topic would be to explain that value proposition to the customer in a way that he or she understands. Uh, the top sales gurus have always taught us and keep teaching us that the best way to sell is not to really do any presentation. I, in fact, learned it much later. I used to bombard with presentations, and nowadays I don't do that at all. Just listen to the customer. Don't talk about the product you are selling. Don't talk about the solution you are providing. Just listen to the customer. And as you listen to the customer, try to find out where your product or service could suit to solve his problem, to solve his issue. And when that can be done, then automatically your product or service gets sold. That is what the teaching is. That is what the ideal way of doing it is. That is the where the solution comes into picture. Whereas practicing it, oh my God, it's such a big challenge. All of us, including me, initially. Nowadays, I have to some extent I've stopped, but still I keep doing the same thing. Keep bombarding with my solution, my value proposition, whatever I've been doing, so that the customer would really get overwhelmed and many a times intimidated with what amount of content which I am sharing, which sometimes makes the customer take a back step, which is not going to be really beneficial at all in the sale process. But still we keep doing it. Why? And that's because our mindset doesn't allow us to do the way it has to be done, allow us to do the best solution. Because in our experience, whatever we had till now, that really never paid off. Maybe I always had to speak out. I was in a situation where unless I could speak out and shout out, I was not being heard. Especially in the Indian context, in colleges, we have close to about PUC, for example, pre-university. We would have about 80 kids in the class, and in SSLC, I would have about 70 kids in the class. So there, unless you are able to shout, you can't really be heard. Is a general perception which happens, and that you experience also over time. And therefore it becomes very clear that there is no point in just listening and just sitting back, because if you're sitting back, then you can't really be heard by somebody. There is no what should I say, visibility of you. Therefore it is very strong for us, all of us, to keep explaining what we do. Many a times I wonder, this video which I am doing now, the live session which I am doing, maybe also is a crazy thing to do, because instead of simply sitting back and listening and waiting for your email or waiting for your call, I am continuously talking about mindset. Maybe it is wrong, I don't know. But that's what my mindset drives me to do. Unless I change that, it will be impossible for me to come to a level where I am able to sell something, and that's something which is very predominant in the sales function. Solution finding is very easy. Implementing it is the difficult thing. Implementing it is a challenge because of the mindset. And the mindset is something which we need to work on to be able to implement better, to be more effective. And to do that, we need to be working on 4 topics, which is way we are perceiving, way we are thinking, way we are deciding, and finally, the way we are acting or responding. That is the reason why I believe mindset is extremely important. And that is why I transitioned from talking about a lot of rational, analytical stuff to talking about mindset, which is extremely subjective, extremely abstract, in whatever best way I can, to really help others also to perceive, to really appreciate this, the importance of mindset, and start looking at how one could change mindset. With that having been said, let me get into today's template for our in our quarterly business plan. The first topic is, of course, to start with the daily meeting. I'm sure you might have done the daily review meeting, which has totally 7 agenda topics. First is to talk about the scoreboard, whether you are having a scoreboard which can show all of you, everybody in the meeting, within 1 second or maybe fraction of a second, what the current reality is. Everybody perceive the same way. That is the objective of the scoreboard. And they also know what is the trend. They also know where the target is. Where do you stand today? Like what you see in a football game or a cricket game, where you can see the score, and score gives you the instantaneously, you can understand where do you stand today. Then after the scoreboard, you need to talk about what were the successes and failures for yesterday's experience, and from there what learning happened. And learning happened basically not about just learning. Talk about what are you going to do differently to incorporate that learning. That is extremely important. Then a rolling plan for 5 days, which is yesterday, today, tomorrow, day after, and the day after, and the deviation management for whatever issues are irritants were there, and to make sure that the deviations are all managed so that there is no damage done. And after that, to ensure that the teamwork flows smoothly. Teamwork without conflicts is not a team at all. So teams have to have conflicts because each individual has his own mindset. If the teams don't have conflict, there are two possibilities. One is everybody is so very well aligned that there is no conflict at all. Everybody is doing their job precisely and perfectly. That's an ideal situation to be in, which is very, very rare to find, because everybody have their own mindset, and their mindset doesn't allow them to keep deviating and keep trying to do something different than what they're supposed to be doing. Therefore, teams have conflicts, and it is important to resolve those conflicts and sort it out very quickly, so that we can make the best out of the conflict. Use the conflict to our leverage, and from the conflict learn and bond better, and then talk about the recognitions and celebrations for the day. And finally, if any escalations or any reporting to be done, any approval requests have to be sent, that's the next topic which is to be addressed. And after that, we go to the weekly area, which is talking about sales, how to appraise oneself of sales, how to sharpen oneself in the sales area. I will spend a little more detail tomorrow on that, along with the basics, which is tomorrow's topic. And today I would continue to talk about the 3 weekly topics which are to be done this week based on the quarterly business plan. One is to review your technology roadmap. Technology roadmap would be, it can be any industry, need not be only information technology industry, can be any industry. You can review the technology roadmap, then conduct a vendor day and seek a feedback from the vendors as to how they are partnering with you and how their perception of your company is. And then after that, check out if your system and process audits are effective. That is extremely important. Without that, whatever organizational knowledge and wisdom that you implemented would go a waste if these two don't work fine, because our system and process audits are extremely necessary to make sure that we are on track. So with that, I would come to the end of today's live session. I wish you all the very best and have a nice evening for those of you in India. And for those of you outside India, have a great day ahead. And before I close, just repeat the small exercise that I've been asking you to do. Talk to your neighbors, colleagues, relatives, or friends on their perceptions of the people-to-people interactions and what you believe or assume their perceptions are. Find out the differences and commonalities and engage with them in a dialogue to evolve a common collective mindset based on these differences and commonalities. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.